By the end of this video, you're going to be able to use Google's AI Gemini inside Unity. I've even used this in my game to make AI generated stories that depend on player interactions. Let's get started. Gemini doesn't have an official API that supports Unity at this moment being, so we're gonna have to use other ways to link both ends together. First, we need an API key from Google AI Studio's website. You'll find all the links we're going to use in this video in the description. Click on Create API Key, click the search bar and choose Generative Language Client, then click Create API Key in existing project. Now copy your API key and keep it somewhere for later use. Also, make sure that you don't share it with anyone. Now for step 2, we need to create the script that serves as the link between Gemini and Unity. Head over to Google Apps Script website, click on Start Scripting, and click on New Project. Delete this, and now copy-paste this script here. Feel free to pause the video and copy the script, but you can always find a copy of it on my Patreon. Now let's paste our API key from earlier here. As you can see, this script is basically designed to handle post requests that we're going to be sending from Unity. From this request, we receive a parameter e and assign it to the new variable, which in our case will be the prompt we sent to the AI from Unity. Here we assign our API key to a new constant, and also declare a URL constant too, which will be sending a request to Gemini's generation endpoint. This URL also holds the model we're using, which in this case is Gemini Pro, and receives our API key. Now we declare a payload constant, which is simply the data format that Gemini will receive. Then we use URL fetch app servers to send a post request to the constructed URL containing the payload. The response from Gemini is then converted from text format to a JavaScript object. Afterwards, we simply assign the response from Gemini to a response message variable if there are no errors. But if there is, we simply assign this error message here. Finally, we return a text output containing the response message which will be received by Unity. Let's now deploy our script. Click Deploy, New Deployment, select Type Web App, and now make sure to change the access permission to anyone. If you get this authorization warning, just click Authorize Access, choose your Google account, click Advanced, go to Untitled Project and click Allow. Now copy this URL and save it for later. For the final step, we need to make the code that will send the post request to the Google Apps Script URL we just copied. For the sake of this tutorial, I've created an empty 2D project, but of course we can later hook this system with literally anything. Let's add an empty game object to hold our script. Let's create a new script, I'll call it API Manager, and let's assign it to our new game object. Inside the code editor, let's add a reference to our Google Apps Script URL, I'll call it gas URL, and also a reference for the prompt we'll be sending to Gemini. Now let's add a private IO enumerator that will handle the sending of the post request. Inside, let's add a new www form, add a field to our form, I'll call it parameter and assign the prompt value to it. Make sure that the spelling here is exactly the same as the one in Google Apps Script. Let's add a new Unity web request where we'll add our gas URL and form here. Now let's send the request and wait for it to complete. After, add a string to hold the response of Gemini and give it an empty value at the start. Now we need to check if the result came back as successful or as an error. If it was successful, we assign the downloaded handler text of our request to the response like so, and if not, we simply assign this error message. Finally, let's debug log our response. Now, we can call this method whenever we want to send the prompt to Gemini. For the sake of this tutorial, I will simply call it whenever I press on the spacebar key. Back to the editor, let's paste the URL that we copied earlier here. Let's test the script with a simple prompt like how much is 2 plus 2. Let's press on spacebar, and as you can see in the console, we get 4, which is indeed the correct answer. Now let's ask it something different. For example, give me a random game idea. And as you can see here, it did give us just that. If you'd like to expand further on this, such as adding UI or even generating AI stories based on items you interact with, you can learn all of this by becoming a member of the exclusive content tier on my Patreon, where you'll get access to a follow-up video along the project files of both tutorials. Special thanks to all my patrons that are helping this channel grow, and if you want to support my work and get access to the project files of my tutorials, the link is in the description.